Hi Guy, welcome back TV Spoiler. Continuing to reveal the dramatic plot twists of Y and R, today I'll reveal Sharon's mental breakdown upon discovering Nick's terrible secrets. Sudden physical breakdown. When Sharon confronted him, Nick didn't confess to his addiction. Instead, he suddenly collapsed due to severe withdrawal symptoms. This emergency forced Sharon to act quickly to save him, calling an ambulance. At the hospital, doctors confirmed Nick was struggling with a painkiller addiction, making Sharon realize the seriousness of the problem, leaving no room for doubt or denial. Sharon's intuition wouldn't allow her to deceive herself any longer. Nick had changed. It wasn't the kind of change a man experiences when he's tired or overwhelmed by work, but rather the kind of change a man living two lives in one body, one trying to appear normal, the other being dragged down by something violent, invisible, and persistent. She saw in him the signs she'd seen in too many people in this town, avoiding glances when asked too many probing questions, irrational outbursts of anger, disappearances with excuses that sounded suspiciously reasonable. On Y&R, collapse rarely comes from a single moment. It comes from repeated small cracks until the whole structure can no longer bear its own weight. And Sharon, having weathered too many storms, understood that when a man like Nick Newman begins to hide something, what he's hiding is never something insignificant. She found the package of fentanyl not by chance, but as if the final pieces of a puzzle had inevitably fallen into place. In Sharon's hands, the small package weighed like an indictment. It wasn't just evidence, it was an unspoken acknowledgement that a line had been crossed. As Sharon stood before Nick, the room felt cramped, not because of its size, but because of the truth compressed within. She didn't shout, she didn't need drama, for Sharon's strength never lay in volume, it lay in the chilling steadfastness of her gaze upon what she feared most. Her hand clutched the fentanyl package, her eyes fixed on him, as if a single blink would send him slipping away from reality with a familiar lie. She asked him about its origin in the voice of a mother, a woman who had loved and been betrayed, a woman who had sworn not to let her family be drawn into another whirlwind. In that moment, Sharon wasn't just confronting Nick. She confronted the same old Genoa city cliché: men hiding for protection, women forced to believe for love. Nick denied it, but it wasn't the sure denial of an innocent man. It was the desperate denial of someone trying to keep a wall from collapsing. He said he didn't use it, he just kept it. He said it was part of a plan to expose Matt Clark's drug network. He spoke as if simply linking his actions to a righteous purpose would automatically make all the consequences acceptable. Nick always had a particular knack for turning dangerous decisions into moral missions. And Sharon knew it wasn't necessarily because he was bad, but because he was so used to thinking he could bear the burden, that if he suffered alone, others would be safe. But in Sharon's eyes now, there was a question Nick couldn't easily get over. If he really only kept it to expose, why did he hide it from her? Why was he living like a man on the run in his own home? Why was his body so weak, as if broken from the inside? Nick seized on a weakness he knew Sharon always carried: children. He spoke of the danger, the lurking threats, the way a drug network could spread through families like an indiscriminate plague. He spoke of protecting his family as a shield, both to convince Sharon and to convince himself that he was still the right man. And Sharon, though wary, felt her heart being pulled in the direction he wanted, because she was a mother too. She too had done foolish things, thinking it was the only way to keep her children safe. Therefore, this confrontation wasn't just an investigation. It was a struggle between instinctive suspicion and the need to trust. Sharon wanted to believe Nick, because believing him meant the world was still in order. The man she loved was still her protector. The danger lay outside, and her family could overcome it through unity. But if Sharon believed him and Nick lied, she wouldn't just be gambling with her heart, she would be gambling with the future of children who had already witnessed too many adult failures. Ultimately, Sharon made a difficult choice, not with a grand declaration, but with a quiet decision that would shape her future. She decided to stay, not to run away from Nick, but also not to give him the blind trust he was hoping for. Sharon chose to do the only thing she could at this moment: keep Nick alive and keep the truth from being buried. She wouldn't become an accomplice to any plan while Nick hadn't fully confronted his addiction. Nor could she immediately drag the whole town into it, because she understood that Matt Clark, the drug network, and the secret plan could be a real landmine. But Sharon would set a clear condition in her heart. If Nick wanted her by his side, he had to tell the whole truth, not just part of the truth to reassure Sharon, but the whole truth, including the parts that would embarrass him, including the parts that would shatter his hero image. And here, my personal feelings creep in, because when I see Sharon in this situation, I see something very realistic that Wyander often does. They show us that courage doesn't lie in shouting or banging the table, but in staying in the room where the truth hurts the most. I used to think betrayal was the end, but the more I watch stories like this, the more I realize that sometimes betrayal doesn't come from malice, but from fear and weakness that people don't dare admit. Even so, weakness still hurts, and no one is obligated to endure it forever. I want Sharon to have the right to be both loving and strict, both soft-hearted and boundary-bound, because that's how a family survives in a town where secrets always try to win. The question that haunts me isn't whether Nick told the truth about Matt Clark, but when Nick wakes up, will he choose the truth or continue to cover it up with another righteous story? And the most terrifying thing is that Sharon had already walked through those hospital doors, whatever the answer. She couldn't go back to the moment before she held the fentanyl packet in her hand. Couldn't go back to the moment when she could trust without being wary, because from this moment on, Nick's fate and the future of their family would depend on one thing: whether the truth would be told in time or whether it would be dragged on until it was too late to save them. On our TV Spoilers channel, I always seek content inspiration for each video by compiling short video clips to analyze and offer my personal opinions. This channel specializes in analyzing, theorizing, and discussing plot points in The Young and the Restless series from the perspective of a longtime fan. Through this, viewers can gain deeper, more objective, and more interesting perspectives. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest news about The Young and the Restless series.